All right, so I want to talk about, this was an etude of my own devising. If you follow Brent, you know it's one of his biggest exhortations is that we should make our own etudes. And so something I've only done a few times, but I'm trying to turn over a new leaf and be a better follower. So anyway, and just continue to grow as a player. So when I've attempted to do this, which I don't know what you thought of that etude. I liked it. Maybe you didn't think it's all that great. I thought it was worthy of sharing at least. I've tried doing this several times before, and I ended up kind of giving up several times. I did it once, but 1 month we did Corcovado, and I just sort of imitated the melody. But the reason I faltered in the past, it was just it was new, but I think more than that, I felt kind of like it's this arbitrary, what should I pick? There's so many options. I do improvise a lot in my practicing, but it's very spur of the moment. This is a little bit of a different mindset. It's not more intentional. And it was just kind of overwhelming to have all these options. So I came up with a little system to reduce the amount of decisions that I have to make, that I'll try doing the next few months going forward. So I'll share that with you, a little bit of the philosophy, the criteria behind what went into this, and maybe it'll help you. So this kind of relates to something I learned from another jazz teacher. I forget his name, Chris Cook or something, maybe. He's from Boston or something, drummer. But anyway, he quoted, I think it's Stravinsky, as saying that creativity comes from constraints, which is, really counterintuitive. You think creativity is all about breaking the rules and everything, but he made the argument that creativity is just problem solving. If you give yourself some constraints, then it forces you to think differently about how to fit things into those. So anyway, just counterintuitive, but I think really helpful way of thinking how to be creative, because when you could do anything, it's easy to just feel like it's all arbitrary and don't know where to start. So anyway, here's the little criteria I came up with for this etude. I thought I'm going to try to have a harmonic idea, a rhythmic idea, and some kind of technique that I'm emphasizing. I'm going to build the solo around that. So for this one, I thought my harmonic idea would be a whole tone approach. I love whole tone. It sounds like magic. It's symmetrical. There's only 2 of them actually. And it sounds great. It's so out there. Especially, we could do minor or major, but it fits over minor. What I tend to do, the way I fit it over minor, is songs in D minor yesterdays. Okay. So I would play it this way. If here's a D minor scale, D, I would just go up half step to E flat and just play the whole tone scale there in any kind of version. Oh, sorry. And what that gets you is really close to A7 dominant. So when you play it, you wind up with C sharp, B, E flat. That fits in if you think of the dominant 7th chord and the tritone substitution kind of idea. That's where the E flat would fit in. So I have your F, G, A, B, C sharp. It repeats after that. Okay. As far as my rhythmic idea, I thought 16th notes would work because number one, a few reasons. One, in my experience listening to jazz, a lot of like saxophone players, especially when they're building their solo up, they'll get to a point where they play 16th notes, and it sounds very virtuosic, especially when you're using in a swing setting. because the 16th note doesn't really technically fit with the swing rhythm, which is based on triplets. So 16th notes stand out. They sound a little like they don't fit, which can be great if you're building up a lot of energy. They sound virtuosic, and I've just noticed in my own playing, I've listened a lot to 16th notes, but it's really challenging to actually, I find, naturally incorporate them in a swing setting. It's easier on a bossa nova because it's more that 16th sound on the rhythm. So I thought, it's something I've been wanting to work on, so I'll try to build around that. And also, since I'm already getting way outside, sounded kind of magical and weird with the whole tone, maybe 16th would fit well with that, just more outside the box. Especially on this tune, because this tune has a middle section of all dominant chords. So I got to thinking maybe I could play it over that, because that part just sounds different than the rest of the tune. It doesn't sound minor, because it's not, and so maybe it'll fit there. And then I thought, for as far as the technique, so this is a little more instrument specific, I think, but you could maybe relate it to slurs or something on a horn, is hammer-ons. Because of the way the whole tone scale plays out on the guitar, it's kind of awkward, but I end up doing a lot of stretching. Because it's symmetrical, it all goes in whole steps. So I thought hammer-ons would be a good idea to try to, they would fit naturally into this whole tone thing. So those are my 3 criteria. So as you can tell from the solo, it's not like I just played hammer-on 16th notes and whole tone the whole way through. So instead what it is, I thought, where would be the most fitting place to incorporate these ideas? I kind of just played around with some different ideas. What I came up with was, I just looked at the chord chart. Hang on, baby, I'm making a video. 1 second. I thought I'll do it over the dominant chords. Like I said, it's already kind of out there. And here's what I realized. I think I maybe knew this. I hadn't really clearly consciously thought about it before. But whole tone, when you have the descending 7th chords, or sorry, it's going in fourths. It's not really descending. It is descending, but it's going in fourths. Okay, check this out. You can play any idea whole tone over one of those chords, and then you can just literally move that exact phrase down, or I guess you could go up a half step, and it will fit perfectly. So this is what I did. I start to transition to whole tone sound with on the minor 2/5, B minor 7, half diminished to E7. I'm starting to move into that kind of concept with this lick. Okay, all right, G sharp. Guys, shh, not right now. Go somewhere else. I'm making this video, please. E7, just G sharp. Okay. That whole tone, tritones are all over the whole tone scale, obviously. So I hit that right as I'm getting to the E7 dominant. Then I do this idea which you heard in the etude. So that's my little 16th lick whole tone. So when you're over A7, root 9, 7, 1, third, sharp 11. I know, but then I just realized once the next chord comes, just move the same idea down a half step. So A7 to D7 works it perfectly, because now you have sharp 11, sharp 5, flat 7, root, and third. Sharp 11, sharp 5, third, 7, root. D7. Then the next chord, G7. You're back to the same chord tones as before. 1, 2, or 9, however. Flat 7, 3, sharp 11. So just keep doing that through those bars 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay? So that's what I built the my personal etude around. Now, as far as the rest of the solo, I started thinking, well, you know, obviously I'm not going to just play whole tone 16th stuff the whole way through, because you need to have tension and resolution in your solo. If the whole thing's outside, it doesn't sound like it's connected to the tune. So I just got to thinking, what are some other ideas that, you know, rhythmically fit and swing, but maybe sound a little bit like the kind of concept? So then I just started playing around with. So kind of that hammer-on pattern, I don't know, seemed to sort of fit with D minor, and then I moved it around the changes. And then I just, honestly, I think I just incorporated other ideas from the previous etude or other things that were just in my ear. So if you remember the etude, that was a big thing. It's a big jump. That's pretty much straight out of the etude. And I thought, well, how can I keep that kind of motif going? And then I love blues, and blues fit great, in my opinion, over minor 2/5s. Okay, that's where that came from. Then the next part, you got, so the beginning's all, you know, just minor 2/5s in D minor. Then you have this descending thing, which is all D minor, but with the descending bass line chromatically. So I thought, how can I start getting ready for that core part of the etude, but still staying in D minor? So I think I actually took most of this idea from an etude we did, I don't know, a few years ago. I'm pretty sure that's where this came from. If Brent's listening, he'll remember, I'm sure. But I think there was an etude where there was some kind of idea that went something like this, where you've got a minor chord, something there. So I was just thinking chromatic movement down. This is where I'm landing in that last, the end of the first 4 bars. So it just seemed to fit. I didn't play it exactly that way in the etude, but that's where the idea came from. I think it was like this. Like that. Okay, so now I'm ending on that B, which is perfect because this whole bars 5, 6, and 7, you know, you end with B minor 7 flat 5, which is the same thing as D minor 6, just with a different bass note, same thing. All right, so then I came up and said, well, how can I immediately move into that whole tone lick? So this is just a thing from Wes Montgomery. It's real common, I think, bebop kind of thing. So I'm still thinking D minor, even though it's B half diminished. So that it's basically the displaced major 7 arpeggio, kind of the F major 7 arpeggio idea over D minor. So and then moving to that G sharp. And again, I think I mentioned this in a video before from the etude. There's something really similar to this from the etude. So I guess one theme through here would be, if you learn the etudes really well and other sources of inspiration, like Wes Montgomery for me, the stuff comes out later. I wasn't super conscious about how, I wasn't like, I'm gonna incorporate this Wes Montgomery lick. It was more just, as I was playing around, it's like, oh yeah, here's something from back in my memory that fits. So, all right, so then you've heard all that through the bars 9 through 12. Then just the last 4 bars, just how can I finish this out? So again, I think I just mainly kind of came up with an idea that's from a bebop melody that I learned. I I don't know, it's ornithology or Donna Lee or something. So here's bar 13, C minor 7, F7. So that's a bebop kind of 2/5 idea. That's just the arpeggio right there. Moving into the F7. Little approach tone stuff. Alright, so over the B major 7. That's obviously a version of the major arpeggio. This note though, I thought was nice. Instead of landing on the 3rd, that's just too vanilla. And on the 9, and that works also not only over B major 7, because it's the 9, but it also works over the next chord, which is E flat major 7, because it's the 6. Hear that? So you've got the 9 of that first chord, and then the 6 of the next one. So I thought, I'll just hang on to that note. Sounds really nice. Because I've been real busy throughout the solo. It'd be a nice place to just land. And then you got one more minor 2/5 to end the thing. So I thought, what can I do since I'm already here on the C? So I played around with some different altered ideas, because they just sound great with that minor 2/5, real like dissonant, crunchy kind of sound. So again, this lick that I learned, I think before I even got into learn jazz standards, and Brent was like, must have been, man, almost 10 years ago. But I had this little book that was Wes Montgomery studying his playing. It was actually the song Yesterday's. And so this is one of the licks that just always stuck with me, because like, that's so cool sounding. How do you do that? So the lick was, it was over A7 altered, and it went like this. So it hits like all the altered notes of the A7. It's sharp 9, flat 9, sharp 5, 3, then back to this is the sharp 9, but it's also the flat 3, depending on how you want to look at it. And then the flat 9 again. So it's just real simple, but I always loved that lick. So I thought, I'm already here on the C, so I'll just move it down. Alright, and then, this form of the song ends on A7, so I kind of left it unresolved. So anyway, that's what I came up with. So I guess the bottom line is, there was one part that was real intentional, trying to incorporate whole tone, 16th notes, longer phrases, and the rest of it was kind of just motivic development and other jazz language that was in my head, mostly from the etudes, but some from Wes. So anyway, I hope that's helpful to know kind of what my process was for this one. I don't know. I'll try to do similarly in future months, see what I come up with. Bye.